focused and fearless. Here's everything you need to know this rush hour of June 9, Tuesday. I'm Riza Diaz. We open up today's rush with the chief executive now dipping his hands in the House speakership race. The outcome, two lawmakers will now share the top House post. Greg Gregorio will tell us who.
Malacanang has repeatedly insisted that President Duterte will not be interfering with the House speakership race. But all that took a different turn on Monday night when the president himself announced his choice for the top post in the lower house.
I think it's about time I talk. So your speaker will be Alan Peter Cayetano. Ang sharing dito is he shares the term with Lord Velasco. And si Romualdez will be the majority floor leader. I tried to distance myself from but apparently I said, it's time that I talk.
Before this, it was Duterte himself who said that he would not be endorsing anyone for the position since most of those gunning for the seat are his friends. But with less than just 2 weeks before the start of the 18th Congress, Palace says there is now a need for Duterte to step in to restore unity at the House of Representatives. The president's children, Davao Representative Paulo Duterte and Davao Mayor Sara Duterte, earlier forged the Duterte coalition to also try and unite the lower chamber. Just this weekend, Paulo Duterte backed out from the speakership race upon discussion with his father. He's now endorsing fellow Davao lawmaker Isidro Ungab to lead the House. Cayetano, meanwhile, welcomes the latest Palace announcement in his favor. The Taguig representative, who was Duterte's running mate in the 2016 elections, now urges other representatives to rally behind the administration's agenda against corruption, criminality, and illegal drugs, as these problems, he says, have been preventing Filipinos from living a comfortable life.
So sa lahat ng mga congressman din na nakikinig, nagmo-monitor, please join the diehard Duterte super majority. Pati po ang ating House of Representatives ay pwede po magkaroon ng political will laban sa corruption, sa crime, sa drugs, at para maiangat ang kabuhayan ng bawat Pilipino.
For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Here are some of the day's biggest stories. President Rodrigo Duterte challenged the United States to deploy its 7th Fleet to the South China Sea to stop Beijing's militarization in the disputed area. Duterte added that once the U.S. fires the first shot, our country will follow suit. Meanwhile, the palace insists that there is no contradiction between President Duterte's description of the Recto Bank incident and the findings of the Philippine Coast Guard and the Maritime Industry Authority. The PCG Marina report said the loss of the Filipino fishing vessel was a very serious marine casualty, while the president calls it a little maritime accident. Spokesperson Salpanelo explained that the president called the issue as such because he does not want the issue to be blown into an international crisis. And despite the issues surrounding the chief executive, his popularity hit a new record high. The latest SWS survey yielded a 2-point increase in his net satisfaction rating. President Duterte now has a positive 68 rating, which is classified as very good. However, this increase is prompted by the people outside the capital, as Metro Manila's rating on the president actually declined. Another party is now joining the call urging the United Nations Human Rights Council to investigate the Duterte administration's war on drugs. Greg Gregorio is back with his report.
Yung pong research ngayon ng Amnesty International ay nag-focus sa Bulacan, sa Central Luzon, na ngayon ay tinatawag na the country's bloodiest killing fields.
This is how the Amnesty International Philippines described the province of Bulacan in relation to the Duterte administration's war on drugs. The organization said most of the 542 reported killings in the region came from Bulacan. From this, 20 incidents were looked into by Amnesty International.
But the numbers really don't matter anymore. What is important is that enough have been killed. Not one more should be killed. Not one more Micah should be killed. The most important finding of the report is that the bypassed nanlaban or fought back narrative is copy-paste or is a template and cannot be believed.
And according to the figures which the group got from the PNP, 6,600 drug personalities had already been killed in drug operations from July 2016 to May 2019. A copy of the report will be given to President Duterte and other government agencies. They're hoping for another investigation by the Senate about extrajudicial killings. However, they are requesting former PNP chief and now Senator Ronald De La Rosa to inhibit himself should there be an investigation.
We hope they will, and we hope it becomes a sincere, genuine, impartial, independent investigation, even if those involved in the EJ case are now part of the Senate. Out of decency, he should inhibit himself if there is such investigation.
Thank you, sir.
And propriety, he should inhibit himself.
De La Rosa has yet to issue a statement about Amnesty International's statement, but this was PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde's reaction.
Palagi naman yung sinasabi nila yon, no? I think that is stereotype already, no? At saka tuloy-tuloy ba? Ngayon nga wala nga report sa Bulacan eh, no? And it's not only probably Bulacan. Remember yung campaign natin against illegal drugs is nationwide. No? At hindi pinramis natin sa Filipino people yan that we will not relax, we will not relent.
Meanwhile, the palace maintains that no country or organization should interfere with a country's internal issues. This was Malacanang's reaction to an Iceland-led call for the United Nations Human Rights Council to investigate the killings on the war on drugs. The Presidential Human Rights Committee called Iceland's move as unwarranted, improper, and abusive, saying that they should follow the Council's complaints procedure first before such a move. But despite all this, President Duterte said he will stop at nothing to fight the proliferation of the illegal drugs in the country.
If you are a president and you are afraid to kill or be killed, better pass it on to somebody else. I'm addressing myself to the human rights, international, local, or barangay. Sinasabi ko sa inyong huminto kayo. Pag hindi, talagang iiritan ko kayo.
For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Meanwhile, here are the biggest stories from the dailies. Mislatel Consortium, the country's third telco, is now a step closer to operations after being handed its license by no less than President Duterte himself. Philippine Star reports that during the awarding ceremony for Mislatel, the president again mentioned the need for better telco services in the country. Duterte called on Mislatel to break or to expand and break the prevailing duopoly between PLDT Smart and Globe. The consortium, meanwhile, is targeting to begin operations next year, though the date of which isn't yet specified. But rest assured, they say their services will pave the way for faster internet.
We are eyeing 2020, so by next year. The exact month, I can't give you that because there are many dependencies, but as soon as we can possibly, humanly possible, roll this out and start commercial operations, we'll start it. What we're rolling out is a 4G network, but a higher version of 4G. This is 4G VoLTE, or Voice over LTE. So this is 4G high definition voice.
In other news, at least 14 students from Kanasuhan National High School in Cebu had to be rushed to the hospital on Monday after experiencing difficulty in breathing in the middle of class. Witnesses tell the Free Man that those who hyperventilated also shook all over and then passed out after. Doctors say the students suffered from hyperventilation syndrome, which can be caused by physical, emotional, and psychological stress. Households, meanwhile, may expect lower electricity bills this month after Meralco announced a 10 centavos per kilowatt-hour drop in overall rates. Business World reports that those consuming 200 kilowatt-hours may save up to 21 pesos in their monthly bill, while those with 500 kilowatt-hour consumption may see a 53 peso reduction. CAPA President Joel Apolinario and 14 other ministry officials are now facing 8 charges of syndicated estafa as alleged victims continue to come forward. Marlene Alcaide has the story.
65-year-old Sonia had just received her retirement pay for working as a midwife for 45 years. But in less than a year, she is unable to buy her own medicine after investing her 500,000 peso retirement fund to CAPA Community Ministry International. Sonia's son also invested his money to CAPA, amounting to 45,000 pesos.
Malungkot talaga ako at saka ngayon mayroon akong maintenance na mga gamot, wala nang ibili. Sana balik nila yung pera ko.
Househelp Judy meanwhile borrowed money from her employer and invested 30,000 pesos to CAPA. Judy says she doubted the group after going to their office, but invested anyway because of the 30% monthly interest offer.
Kasi po yung activity nila, wala pong, hindi mo naman maisabing may prayer sila, hindi mo man maisabing nakatulong sila sa kapwa. May mission sila, wala man din po. Yung nandoon sa loob, pira-pirahan lang, kay yung bumibili kami ng form, hindi sila pwedeng tanungin. Sabi nila, dito sa CAPA walang kuskus balungos. Kung gustong-gusto ninyo yung CAPA, mag-member na daw agad.
These are the 3 CAPA investors that filed the first estafa complaint against the group. They were joined by the National Bureau of Investigation. 8 counts of syndicated estafa and violations of the Securities Regulations Code were filed against CAPA President and founder Joel Apolinario and other officials. NBI-NCR said it is clear that this is a pyramiding investment scam considering that it was not licensed by the SEC. NBI adds CAPA posed as a religious group that used donations as a form of investment and the 30% returns or interest as blessings.
After investing that amount, is not a single religious activity na ginawa sila, na ni-require sila na mag-attend.
NBI hopes that more victims will file charges against those behind the CAPA investment scam. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
Time now to check on today's weather. The southwest monsoon or habagat is still affecting extreme northern Luzon. Monsoon rains, however, are only concentrated in that part of the country, particularly in Batanes. While for Metro Manila and the rest of the archipelago, we'll be experiencing another hot Tuesday with some chances of localized thunderstorms. The People's Management Association of the Philippines, or PMAP, renews the call to end contractualization in the country. But the group clarifies employers must not be disregarded in the equation. PMAP says the government must look after the welfare of both employees and employers. But they added that the need for outsourcing will still remain.
Security of tenure bill is not just an employment issue. It is really a social issue. And at the same time, we get to support yung tinatawag na fight against ENDO, but the government should also protect and balance the interests of the employer.
To be compliant with the law, kailangan yung ina-outsource mo na business is not really part of the core operations of your business. So let's push for the end of ENDO.
Let's fast break now to Sports Rush. The undefeated Keith Thurman claims his taunts are getting under Pacman's skin. Thurman said this during the pregame interview where the two fighters met ahead of the fight. The American also dared Pacquiao to just play basketball instead of preparing for their fight on July 20. But Pacquiao is just letting his opponent's jab slide and promised to let the match speak for itself. Meanwhile, good news for PBA fans in the UAE. The league is set for a two-day basketball showcase in Dubai on October 3 and 4. For the first day, San Miguel and NLEX will duke it out, while on the second day, it's going to be a square-off between the NLEX Road Warriors and the Gin Kings. In fact, these games will be the first ones to be held at the newly constructed Coca-Cola Arena. But that's not all. PBA officials hinted that the league may also hit San Francisco, California late in October. Here are the stories to watch out for later today. Remember the 3-year-old girl who was killed during a buy-bust operation in Rodriguez, Rizal? She was the subject of Senator Batos de la Rosa's "Shit Happens" remarks. Her name is Maika Ulpina, and she will be laid to rest this morning. The Supreme Court resumes its oral arguments on the writ of kalikasan petition for the West Philippine Sea. And days before the Hague ruling anniversary, religious and progressive groups are heading to Mendiola for another anti-China protest. And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us again next time for another round of Rush. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.